Listen, the apex, sexy as hell, but it does not need to be like 3 giant mountains high. It just needs to be the highest point in the nail and then tapering it back downwards. Hi guys, and welcome to Skilled episode 3. So today we're going to be covering one of the most requested, highly requested application videos. I'm going to break down the 3 bead method. What are they? What are some things to watch out for when you're working with acrylic? And just general information that a beginner needs to get started on learning how to properly apply acrylic. So if you're somebody that's been really struggling with your acrylic application, or you might be someone who doesn't even know how to get started, or you might be someone who's already been to nail school, got licensed, and then started to realize that your acrylic application is not on point, this is the video for you. So today we're going to be using a mannequin for this application. You don't need one. You can definitely start out on swatch sticks, which is actually what I did. I started out with swatch sticks and I have no shame in that and I absolutely loved it. I actually ended up saving so much money because I kept messing up. So start on a swatch stick or you can start on a practice hand. It's totally up to you. Before we get started, I do want to go over some things to think about when you're working with acrylic. So number one is going to be your products. When you're working with acrylic, your products really do make such a big difference. Let's go over what are some things that you're going to need. Number one, I'm not even kidding, is Viva paper towels. I get them from Walmart and I love them because they're lint-free. There's no little zigzaggy things. If you use the ones with like the little zigzaggy ones, like the Bounty and stuff like that, unfortunately, acrylic gets clogged up in there and then it'll end up in your brush. So skip that. Get the Viva paper towels. And then you're also going to need the Acrylic Pro starter kit. I love the Ultimate Acrylic Starter Kit. This is my favorite starter kit ever. It comes with everything that you're going to need. So it comes with the number 8 100% Klinsky brush, 2 hand files, 2 buffer blocks. It comes with also 4 colors, Ultra Bond, Ultra Prep top coat, and a non-secret nail tip in square. Freaking love this set. I'm obsessed. Since I already have one, I opened everything up and that's what we're going to be using today for this application. For the cover acrylic powder, I have decided to go with the Sweet Pea color. It is one of my favorite colors. It is more on the lighter nude side, and I love working with cover acrylic powders for beginners. Skip the color acrylic powders. You're never going to use them. Make sure you use cover acrylic powders. Then you're also going to need monomer. I'm going to be using the Fast Set monomer today. I actually really like working with this formula for beginners. I've definitely noticed for a lot of beginners, people struggle with their liquid to powder ratio. And what usually happens is they're getting like really just like runny beads. So with the Fast Set formula for beginners, it kind of helps to like stabilize everything. You can still work with it. You can still blend it. You have plenty of time to work with it, but it just doesn't like really allow you to get runny, which I love. And then for the Klinsky brush, I'm using the one that came in the starter kit. This is a number 8 size brush. This is the 100% Klinsky brush from Acrylic Pro, and I always recommend a number 8 or number 10 for beginners because you'll pick up a little less liquid, which allows you to have better control of your bead so that your bead isn't just like runny and just like running away from you. With these couple products, we're going to get started. So first, when you're working with your acrylic, something to keep in mind of is how are you holding your brush? These tips that I'm giving you guys today should really help you with correcting some problems and troubleshooting acrylic. One thing I have noticed with a lot of beginners is that when they're working with acrylic, they do this like painting motion like this. Do you see how the bristles are opening up? We need to ensure that our bristles are always closed. So instead, always keep your brush parallel to the nail angle, which means you're going to be doing this. This is called swiping, or you're going to be doing this. This is called patting, and you're going to notice how the bristles, they stay closed. Nobody wants to open up. But if you start doing this and you start holding your brush perpendicular to the client's nail, unfortunately, you are going to get clogging. Another thing to keep in mind of is going to be temperature in your room. I'm currently working in a room temperature of 72 degrees. A good temperature that I would recommend is anywhere from like, I would say 68 being like the lowest, and then up to like 73 for acrylic. If your room is any hotter than 73 degrees, unfortunately, your acrylic is going to dry up super fast, and it's not really going to give beginners a good amount of time to work with it. And then also, if your temperature is way too cold, so let's just say below 68 degrees, then your acrylic will just basically never set and it's just going to be running off of the nail. Okay, so now that you have the right supplies and now you know what to do with your brush and you know what temperature you need to be working with, the next step is positioning your client. Your client's hand should always be right in front of you like this. And also at the same time, the fingers need to be pointed a little bit downwards. So as you guys can see with the mannequin hand that I'm using, I actually raised it up. So the client's hand is looking like this. This is the right position. But if your client's hand is like this, where it's flat, your nails are also going to be flat. And remember, gravity pulls one way only, and that's straight down. So if gravity is pulling straight down, then whatever bead you place on the client's nail, it'll fall from the two sides. However, if you pull your client's fingers kind of downwards and you angle their whole hand upwards, so the nails are kind of like naturally falling downwards, gravity is going to help you pull on that acrylic this way and not this way, because this way sucks, okay? You can't learn anything like that. So now that you also know that the client's hand angle, let's go ahead and get started onto our 3-bead application. First up is our acrylic powder. I like to place my acrylic powder a little away from me because I actually like to sit my monomer right in between me and my powder. This way it's easy for me to grab. I have definitely noticed that there were a couple trainings I did with people where I saw beginners do this. This is just so awkward because now you're taking your brush like this to go to the powder. It is so much. And then don't forget the hand is up here. It's way too much. Remember, you have to rehydrate yourself as you go. So keeping that monomer on this side closer to the client's hand, if you are obviously right-handed, if you're left-handed, then put it on the other side, is going to allow you to rehydrate your brush easily without getting monomer into your powder and then messing everything up. Next, I'm going to take my Cover Acrylic powder in the color Sweet Pea from Macart Pro, and I'm going to leave that to the side as well. And let's bring up our hand. I like to keep my hand right in front of me, so this is my client, ensuring to keep her fingers pointed kind of like downwards when I'm working with her. Grab our powder and let's get started. Fully submerge the brush into the dappen dish. Remember, that first bead is a bigger bead. So tap towards the tip of the brush, 45-degree angle into the powder, tap and 1 bounce. This way you're able to pick up a much bigger bead. Notice how this bead is starting to polymerize, which means that the polymer, which is the powder, and the monomer are reacting with each other, and the bead is getting nice and shiny. Point the client fingers to hand tilted downwards. Place the bead down and lift. Don't press. Never press. And let's go ahead and start tapping it. Notice how I'm always going to kind of rehydrate my brush as I go. This is a very important motion to remember to do. When you don't rehydrate your bristles as you go, your bristles will get drier and drier. And as the brush gets drier and drier, then the acrylic starts to dry up with it as well. So if you're somebody that struggles with like very dry acrylic, usually for most beginners, I always ask, I'm like, are you rehydrating your brush? And everyone's like, how do I rehydrate? So if you don't rehydrate, this is your moment to rehydrate. What does rehydration mean? It just means that as you're going and you're cleaning your brush, dip it back into the monomer, tap it on the paper towel in front of you, and then bring it back to the hand. Look at how gorgeous that first bead went on. So, so, so pretty. This color is insane. One of my favorite colors ever. Then let's move into our apex bead. With the apex bead, we want to focus this as the highest point in the nail. So we don't want to flatten it. And I want to be able to blend it back into the original nail. And then I want there to be like a nice little hump and then taper downwards, with the center being the highest point. So just keep in mind that when you are placing down that bead, swipe from the two sides and then work your way into the middle, okay? So place the bead down, tap, tap to get it to wherever it needs to go to, pull down from left side, pull down from right side, and then swipe your way into the middle. Let's give that a try. Fully submerge the brush into the dappen dish. Let's do a medium-sized bead tap in the middle, 45-degree angle, tap, and 1 bounce. Flip the bead around. Let it polymerize a little bit on your brush first. See how it gets nice and like watery looking. Now you can place it down onto the nail. Same thing, don't press, lift. Rehydrate the brush and tap. I like to tap it to get it side to side first. And then blend from the side. 1, rehydrate. 2, and then blend your way back into the middle. Look at how beautiful that was. The Apex bead is such a fun bead to do. I love doing the Apex bead. If you guys don't know this, a lot of my footage is actually me blending the Apex bead on our TikTok. And y'all love seeing that too as like the first few seconds of my video. Beautiful. Look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous application. The Apex does not need to be like crazy tall, you guys. I see so many people like exaggerating the Apex. Listen, the Apex, sexy as hell, but it does not need to be like 3 giant mountains high. It just needs to be the highest point in the nail and then tapering it back downwards. However, though, the longer the nail, obviously, the bigger and longer the apex because you need more structure, right? And if you don't know what the apex is the highest point in the nail. It's there as a safety mechanism to offset the weakest point in our nail. For a lot of clients who get, really pretty long sets, if their nail tech doesn't give them a strong apex, that nail is going to break off right there. And remember, your nails don't break off in the free edge. Your nails will break off in that weak pressure point. And that is actually at the base of the nail. So it's going to bleed and it's going to hurt. Okay. And now let's move into my favorite bead, which is the cuticle bead. With the cuticle bead, again, tilt the client fingers downwards as you can. When you place that bead, push it upwards into the cuticle without touching the cuticle. But most importantly, that means that when you place the cuticle bead down, please don't put it like at the cuticle. You have to remember that acrylic is a self-leveling product, which means as you place it down, the product itself will kind of like slump out. And so if you don't give it enough room to slump out, it'll touch the cuticle and then boom, retention issue. Your nails are not going to last because they're going to lift right where that cuticle is. I need to do a video on prep because I never went over prep today. Fully submerge the brush into dap and dish. Pick it up. Let's do a light tap towards the top of the brush for smaller bead. Tap and 1 bounce. Flip it around. Flip it around. Let it polymerize a little bit. And then tilt the client fingers downwards. Place it a little away from the cuticle. Rehydrate your brush. And work on the top part of that bead and push the acrylic into the client's cuticle without touching it. Then rehydrate again, same as the apex bead. Blend from the bottom, blend from the other side. All right, and then you're going to just blend, 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 and boom, we are done. And now the nail is completed. Super easy application, always. Okay, let's keep going. For our next color, we're going to use one of my favorite pink colors. It's a bestseller and her name is Pink Silk. We're going to be using this and we're going to repeat that same process so that you guys can see on a second nail, this time using a pink color. All right, with the client's nail ready to go, fully submerge the brush into the dap and dish. Let's pick up a bigger bead. 45-degree angle, tap, and turn it around. Let it polymerize first on the brush. As it gets nice and watery, place it down on the nail. Hold. 1, 2, 3, lift. Don't press. And just push the acrylic into the center and then tap until it gets to the very tip. One thing I definitely noticed for a lot of beginners is when we're working with that first acrylic bead, everyone wants to just start swiping. Going crazy. Don't swipe, okay? Now, one thing you guys will notice me do is as I work with this bead, I'm going to take the body of my brush and run it down on the sides, gently, obviously. This is so that I can get really crispy edges and I don't have to do so much work filing. Because remember, yes, with acrylic, you can definitely fix mistakes with filing, but we're racing against time. So we don't want to sit there for 3 hours to file. And also don't forget, no one likes being filed at. A lot of clients do not like getting their nails filed. So the less we can sit there and file with, the better it is for most clients. And also it's more profitable for the nail tech because then you can work through your appointments like a breeze. So with that first bead down, let's do our second bead. Fully submerge the brush into dap and dish, middle of the brush, 45-degree angle. and turn it around onto the brush. Let it polymerize first. See how it gets nice and watery and almost a little shiny? That's when you know it's ready. Tilt the client fingers downwards and place it down on the nail. Hold and lift. Rehydrate. Push the acrylic into the center. And pull down one side and pull down the other side. And then work your way into the middle. Blend, blend, blend. Take your brush and run it down on the sides to give ourselves a nice crispy edge. And the final piece again, cuticle bead. Fully submerge the brush, one light tap towards the top, 45-degree angle. Pick up a slightly smaller bead than I usually work with. Turn it around. Flip the client fingers downwards and place the acrylic bead down and push. Now, with the cuticle bead, I think we're going to do a little bit more content at some point to kind of explain more in depth on the cuticle bead. It definitely trips a lot of people up, and I don't think that it should. I think if we had better content in general for, people to watch, I think less and less people will have that many problems with the cuticle bead. So don't worry if you're someone who struggles with the cuticle bead, because we have more and more content and videos coming up where we can definitely address the cuticle bead more in depth as well. Just like this. Okay, and then you can go through and file the sides down. And that's pretty much it on how I work with my acrylic application. Now, I'm going to show you guys really quickly on the cuticle bead just one more time, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with it, and I feel bad that y'all are going to have to wait for a new video to come out. So we're going to do the cuticle bead as well one more time. Also, I'm obsessed with this pink color. Absolutely obsessed. For those that are also wondering what I'm doing when I'm sticking the nail in, how I'm keeping it there, I buy these full cover tips off of Amazon. They look like these. They're like crazy long press-on tips, I think. And I just shove it up on the hand. A lot of hands will come with these little pretty nails, but I just don't really want to prep the nail over and over again when I'm showing people how to do the acrylic portion. So that's why. All right, one more time. Fully submerge the brush into the dappen dish. Pick it up, one light tap towards the tip, and go in for a big bead. Flip it around. Let it polymerize. So beautiful. And place it down on the nail. This time I've decided that I'm going to place the acrylic bead a little bit higher up on the nail, because we're going to cut this down into 2 beads. One thing I will say is, like, as a nail tech, you always have to remember that time can be your best friend or it can be your absolute enemy. With cutting down one of the beads, what's nice is that now we have a little bit more time, because now you're cutting down 1 bead from every single nail, and there's 10 nails on each client, right? So same as always, start out with a tapping motion, but you're just going to move that acrylic a little higher up on the nail and then place it down, and then the rest of it is history. Keep the client fingers pointed downwards when you guys are working on this bead. Keep the client's fingers pointed downwards whenever we're working with acrylic. This is a critical piece to your acrylic journey success. Let's cut some acrylic off, since I don't need that much product. Take it out, and boom. Now you have pretty much, it's like 1 long bead, right? Now we're going to do the cuticle bead and the apex bead together at the same time, which means I need a medium-sized bead. Fully submerge the brush, pick it up, 1 light tap towards the middle of the brush, 45-degree angle, tap, and 1 bounce. Flip that around, let it polymerize. And now we're going to go in and do our cuticle bead, which means I'm going to work the acrylic into the cuticle and lift, tap the acrylic. Let's work on the cuticle piece of it first, flush it, and then blend down from the side, blend down from the side. Whoops, that's a little too high. And then work your way back into the middle. Being very careful not to overdo it, because if you start overdoing it, that acrylic bead will be gone. Beautiful. Beautiful. And there you have the 2-bead acrylic application with a nice strong apex right over there with a beautiful color. All right, let me clean out my brush, wipe. And then I just hang my brush to dry on the side of my table. Such a gorgeous, gorgeous color. Freaking love this color. Okay, you guys, I do have a video on the filing portion of it, so I'm not going to file in this video because I don't want this video to be like way too long. I want you guys to be able to come back to this resource and repeat and relearn. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode of Skilled. I hope the acrylic application helped you guys to figure out what you were doing right, what you were doing wrong, and kind of piece together some things for you guys. I hope those tips help you guys troubleshoot. So keep us updated and hit the subscribe button to get notified when we post our new video, which is going to be coming out every single Sunday. So stay tuned.